Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second commentary session for day 4 of WWDC. It's getting quite late here already. We had a really nice day here in the Netherlands, so I got some sunshine and some rest in the middle of the day because there's no time for sleeping at night, of course. So let's get straight into it. Today, we have a really nice group of people again, and we're going to start with a familiar face, although she has not turned her camera on yet, so I'm going to start with a new person. Stefan, hey, how's it going?
Hey, nice to be here.
Nice to have you here. Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Germany, so I'm pretty late in the time zone as well. So I think you know how
Same
I
times.
feel.
Yeah, you know the struggles then as well of doing a WWDC remote and online. It has some benefits, but it's not great for your sleep schedule.
Absolutely.
Are you dealing with it well, or how did you cope with it? Do you find a system for it?
I think it depends what you define as well. So not a lot of sleep, but I think I'm trying to catch up with as much as possible.
Nice. So it turns out that I had actually turned off all the cameras for everyone, which is why all the cameras were black. So let me bring in Jess. Hey, Jess.
Hi.
Sorry for keeping you waiting for a bit there. So
No,
Jess
no,
was already
sorry.
on the. No, you didn't
I've
do
been
anything wrong.
running
It was
around.
all me. So Jess was on the commentary also a few days ago. So it's really nice to have you back.
It's
For the
awesome.
people who didn't see you then, where are you calling in from?
Oh, from Mexico, and it's we're experiencing heat wave, and it's 40 degrees centigrade, but around 100 Fahrenheit, and it's brutal out there. Like
Oh,
I yeah, it's really hard today. Hence
well,
all the
good,
crazy
good,
stuff.
good thing we're inside now and just looking at the computers all day. Our third speaker of the day is Jevon. Jevon, I almost got the pronunciation right before. Sorry, can you give it to me one more time?
Thanks, Cody. It's Jevon.
Jevon. Okay, I'm gonna write it down and not forget it. Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from California.
Oh,
So
nice.
great sunny weather, about 1:30 in the afternoon for me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Good to have you. So, as we discussed earlier, there's some static sometimes. So, Jevon is going to be muted sometimes as well, but he's going to be here with us anyway. So, and then we have our last speaker of the day. His camera is black right now, and I did not turn it off. So let's see how that goes. Aiden, are you there?
Hi.
And we lost him. It's kind of ironic because Aiden works on a product for using your. Oh, there he is.
Howdy.
Hey, Aiden. Yeah, that's better.
How you doing? Good to
I
see you.
was just
Thank
saying, it's kind of ironic that your camera was not working when you're working daily with software to use your phone as webcams and stuff.
It's always the live demos.
so many
Exactly.
calls. It's getting turned on. It's getting turned off. I've got all of these test flights and betas that I'm running, so I'm a guinea pig for this stuff.
It's all fine. So let's get started then. Day 4 of WWDC. For me, I'm starting to really feel it's starting to hit me, the constant sessions. How are you all doing? You still having fun or looking forward to the weekend?
But it's still pretty fun, but I'm not used to the amount of caffeine that I have had been taking in order to just be present every day. So I'm looking forward for the weekend. I'm going to go unplug and do something that has nothing to do with the internet, just to absorb.
That
How
sounds
are you guys
concerning.
coping?
Okay. Well, I've been coping with it fine. I mean, I'm not watching all the sessions. I don't have enough time to watch every single session I want to watch. So right now, I'm just watching, really picking out the ones that I like and saving the other videos for later because they're always available on playback, and I can always go back to watch them later.
Yeah, that's a wise move.
Yeah, I've got to pace myself tomorrow. We had a couple of labs today, and I'm always struck by the kindness and patience of Apple's engineers and how nice they are. They're really, really supportive with us. But as you can see, I accidentally got stuck in the macOS Monterey wallpaper, and I've spent most of the day trying to get myself out of that. But I'm still obviously covered in purple and trying to get cleaned up from it. So I've had a lot of the new builds.
What about you, Stefan?
So yeah, I thought a lot about how much time I'm ready to invest, but I also have to say I think not watching everything is probably a wise decision. As Jevon said, it's available the whole year, so I'm trying to catch up on the latest stuff I'm really interested in. Following the people on Twitter has been pretty nice. So to get a quick start on a lot of things. So I'm really, really happy for my little Twitter bubble I built. So thanks to everyone involved there. This is really
for
nice.
keeping you up to date.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So Aiden, you actually don't really follow that advice then, because you're already on the Monterey beta. Then how's that going so far?
Yeah, good. Fortunately, I've got quite a few spare devices, but it seems to be okay. Certainly enjoying some of the changes in FaceTime. But yeah, I think there's a lot to come, and I think there's going to be a lot changing behind the scenes. It's nice to see the new stuff, but I think some of the technologies and APIs we work with are still kind of in flux. And so I'm excited to see what comes in the subsequent builds.
What was your impression of the FaceTime changes? Have you had the chance to play around with it with other people who are also on the beta?
Yeah, we've run a couple of calls. We got the kind of the web dial-in working, so we had a bunch of people connected through that. Not everyone on the team could make it work, but most could. I think it was possibly not supposed to work, but we got it to work. And the portrait mode is pretty neat. We were very flattered that the approach Apple took in building portrait mode is really kind of similar to the approach we took in our product. So it's nice to see that. And in particular, it means that they're going to be, investing and extending in using the APIs in the way that we were using them. Because before we were kind of in slightly uncharted territory. So I think this is going to make our lives easier. So yeah, it's cool stuff.
Nice.
Was everyone using it on an Apple device, or did you have a chance to test out the web version and the Android version?
So I think some people, a bunch of the team were going in through the web. So they were using the web. They were injecting Camo to a virtual camera into that. And I was then hosting with FaceTime on an iPad with iOS 15. And I think there are a couple of people with devices natively running it. So, it worked a lot better than you'd think for a first beta.
And it's a really great change for Apple's FaceTime. It's a great leap forward, such that they're making it available for customers who are not using Apple devices. You can FaceTime on Android devices or even in any browser.
How much of what has been announced this year do you think has been impacted by, the global pandemic? Because this move on FaceTime will make life so much easier for teams that had mixed devices in order to get together and have a great quality video call.
Feels like a lot of it could be. That private relay stuff. If your team are all around the world and not in a secure office, private relay is pretty important. SharePlay feels pretty important as well.
Yeah, I think SharePlay is definitely one of those examples of we're not going to be able to see each other as much in real life. Well, it's slowly opening up now, so we have a bigger need to do things together, activities together, be it watching movies together or, I don't know, planning a trip. I think it would have come either way as well, because it's like a logical next step in terms of this whole connected thing, and also with AR coming in the future probably. But they probably put some extra speed behind it to make sure it was ready for this year. But overall, it seems like it's kind of a slow year in terms of big consumer changes, right? It's mostly like some new nice things, but behind the scenes, that's where everything got polished this year. Or do you think different, Stefan?
I definitely had the same impression. So I think that for developers, there are some specific new APIs which are pretty exciting. Like Aiden said, the portrait mode for FaceTime is pretty nice. Stuff like that, SharePlay. But I think that tackles a pretty specific corner of developers. And I think for the mainstream Apple developer, I think the changes are more subtle, but I think they're pretty welcome as they're getting some APIs more polished.
Yeah. So what kind of stuff are you? Oh, sorry. Go on, Jevon.
Yes, I agree with you guys. I agree with what Stefan said and Jordy said. This year is really, it's not that much of a big year in terms of consumer software because um, it feels more like iOS 14.8 as opposed to iOS 15. From iOS 13 to 14, there was the widgets. From 12 to 13, there was dark mode. But from 14 to 15, it's mainly on the Apple apps, as well as some other minor changes. It's subtle, but it's just nothing major. And right, right.
Yeah, yeah, and well, the main thing, of course, is that we see a lot of Swift UI improvements this year, basically making it like I don't think there's a lot of people that can now say that Swift UI is not good enough for the things they're working on, unless you're doing something super niche or super advanced. But even with the Swift Canvas stuff now, you can like basically make any interface you want. And I think that's also why it's good that this release is there, because all the devices that supported iOS 13, which had the first version of SwiftUI, can now also upgrade to this. So it feels like, hey, now we have a path for all devices starting at the 6S to go to a point where they can use fully SwiftUI apps. And then from here on, they can like start expanding. I expect them to drop some support next year, of course. Did any of you go to any interesting sessions today or watch any interesting sessions in general?
I actually have. Today, I did some experimentation with Replay Kit. And yesterday, I watched a session on demystifying Swift UI along with some other new Swift UI features, such as the refreshable control, as well as the focus features. Those are all brand new and really, really powerful new APIs that will enable developers to build even more capable apps in Swift UI, as now we're on the third iteration of Swift UI.
I kept diving into SwiftUI. I did demystify SwiftUI yesterday and today. Accessibility for SwiftUI, not just the basic. And well, truth be told, I haven't talked much about accessibility within apps, um, but it has been brought up in a way that doesn't feel like a second thought. With the new accessibility preview tool that's gonna be built into Xcode, it's gonna be easier than ever because right now you felt you had to go out of your way to prove your app for accessibility. You had to test on device and yeah. And here it will be like so easy to go over the different options we have to offer more accessible apps for our users, either voiceover or guiding by symbols. It it has become easier to offer accessible apps.
Yeah, I
Yeah, there was
think
definitely a lot of improvements there. Oh, sorry, go on.
no problem. I just want to mention like I watched the What's New in Swift UI session a few days ago, and I think they put a really great emphasis on accessibility there because like they even showed that for previews you can now see the accessibility labels of your elements and such. So I think it's really nice, and also there are some pretty interesting accessibility sessions available, and I think it's nice because they're targeting one beginners. So if you haven't worked a lot with it yet, you can now get started with it pretty easily. But there's also like a session which I sadly had not the time yet to watch, but which is like advanced accessibility features, which is also pretty nice because people already familiar can still learn a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, definitely. And so besides all the like WWC content, there's a lot of community stuff going on as well. Obviously, this whole WWC community is part of that. We've had some nice get-togethers today as well. The open mic night was there where people could like pitch their own apps and like get feedback from people. And the scavenger hunt is still open till tomorrow. So in the WWDC community, we recreated the whole conference center into this digital game, sort of like, where you can walk around the entire center and you can discover all the different rooms. And there's hidden things there with some nice prizes as well. And we also have the hackathon that starts on Saturday. So if you want to find someone, a team of 2 or 3 to work on some of the new APIs, and then at the end, the community will vote on what they like most. And there's also some prizes there from HomePods to maybe AirTags. So yeah, definitely check that out if you still have some energy left on Saturday. In 15 minutes, there's a nice session coming up. There's the design awards are being presented live. So we're going to make sure that we end this commentary session in time so that everyone can watch that. So Aiden, I had a question for you because you run a company that builds an app called Camo, which basically lets you use your iPhone as your webcam for your Mac, thus using the better camera. With announcements like this, what's your thinking process for like the next year with your team? Like, do you let your developers just decide, hey, this is how we should approach this? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have a lot of plans for the product. We've generally got plans that are about 12 months ahead of where we're at. And a lot of the things that we're doing, there aren't sort of other examples of. So there's a lot of the unknown, and there are a lot of estimates that in some cases spin wildly out of control. So we've probably got about 12 months of fairly clear plans ahead of us at any one point. And what we said, what we tend to say with DubDub is, everything could get changed. So, we did our first kind of little replay.
Did it get changed this year?
It's got changed a little bit. Yeah. I mean, there's some really interesting stuff that we want to do with portrait mode to go a lot deeper in it. And we thought Apple would do that and go super deep. And so they've implemented what we were calling beta for our portrait mode. We think there's a better way to do it, which is going to be a lot of work. Now, of course, they may also be going to do this. It's just that we don't know, right? It could suddenly appear on the 3rd or 4th build. But yeah, I mean, there are some things we're going to hook in. I mean, we after a very late night overnight on Monday, by Tuesday, we've got an internal build of Camo that runs FaceTime's portrait mode. We're going to have some lovely hooks for shortcuts on macOS. And there are a couple of other little things where, we were watching the presentation, like we're going to have that. So we're certainly going to be shipping a few things. What it might mean is it might have taken a couple of big bits of work off the roadmap, which is quite nice. So, nice. I mean, obviously Center Stage shipped earlier, but we're assuming that Center Stage is going to come to the iPhone, and it would be nice not to build that ourselves.
Yeah, it's a quite safe bet. So, Stefan, what kind of stuff are you working on? I actually don't even know, like, what do you work on?
That's nice. By the way, I just activated the portrait mode on Camo, so I think it works pretty fine already, right? Still in beta though, yeah. I'm basically just a freelance app developer and doing some side projects right now, which is pretty nice because like the problems that others are facing, where they have to take a lot of care about backwards compatibility. I don't have that.
iOS 15 only from the launch.
Well, let's see about it. But yeah, so I think that's pretty nice to have that freedom, right? So yeah, that's what I'm working on. That's why.
Is there any specific API or feature that was announced this WWDC that you plan to start using like next week or in 2 weeks from now, or?
So I think one of the most fascinating ones I think is the object capture for ARKit. So I think what a lot of people what's holding back a lot of people about AR is the lack of models, because like you have to be basically a 3D expert so far to create those. And I think the ability to just make those basically from just images is just so powerful and will enable a lot more use cases for AR. And I've already seen people like building beta versions of Mac apps that do just like you drop in pictures and you get the 3D object back. So I think that's really powerful and will help a lot. So I'm excited about that.
Nice. And Jess, what about you? What do you see yourself working on the next few months that was announced this year? That is this WWDC.
Truly diving into SwiftUI, I have done much of my learning on UI Kit, and every time I asked more senior engineers, like, is it worth it? And they were 50-50. Like, most of the work is being done in UI Kit, but after WWDC, Swift finally feels like something that you can start working right now, not something that you're gonna need in a long future. So yeah, actually cementing myself in Swift UI, and I wanna make a shameless plug and remind
Go
the
for it.
audience that we still have some slots available for the mentoring labs at WWDC Community Week, and it's something that hasn't been um, uh, made so public, and it's such an amazing opportunity to go and do one-on-one with a senior engineer. So just don't miss a chance.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So for the people who don't know, we have, I think, about 20 different mentors across a wide range of skills, from technical to career advice to dealing with team members. So yeah, go to the wwdc.community website and sign up for some of the slots. This is the first year we're doing this. Last year we didn't do it, so we're also trying to figure out the best way to approach this. But there's a lot of people in the community that are not necessarily well known, but do have skills that they want to share as well with beginner developers, or also more senior ones that just want to have a sparring partner. So it was actually nice. Aiden found out about it yesterday and also offered to help out. But with all the ramp up to doing all the mentoring, maybe for the next event. But hang on. Let me. Jevon, is there anything that you are working on right now?
I'm working on a few personal projects. I mainly just code Swift iOS for the fun of it. I'm a hobbyist developer. I'm active on the open source community with some libraries and open source apps. And with this year's WWDC 2021, of course, with the new Swift async await feature, I might go back and replace all the existing completion handlers and write them in the new, better async await pattern. I also see myself developing new app features with the new Swift UI APIs, such as the search bar and the refreshable controls. With those new Swift UI APIs, I no longer have to resort to wrapping UIKit components into a UIV representable or use other workaround solutions. I now have a direct, easy to use component that I can directly put onto my app with minimal effort.
Yeah.
Also, I'm really interested in doing the group activity session feature. I really think that's just mind-blowing that multiple people who install your app can work on the same session, have their screens be synced, and their interactions synced over.
Mm-hmm. Is that the same as SharePlay, though? I'm not 100% sure about that.
I'm not really sure. It might be the same thing.
I feel they're closely related, but I was wondering if you had to be.
Yes.
Yeah, because
I think the
demo
is just FaceTime, but this one is even without FaceTime, you can do it.
Nice. Yeah, I really like how easy they made it, because in the past it would require making a whole syncing engine and everything, and it was a lot of work. So quick question before I start wrapping up. How much of the stuff you work on, all of you right now, is in SwiftUI in terms of percentage from 0 to 10? Aiden, how much of the stuff at Camo and at Reincubate is in SwiftUI?
0 at the moment.
0. Are there any plans after this WWDC to make that a 1 or a 2?
I think it could happen. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of technologies and frameworks we're not using that we'd like to, and SwiftUI is pretty important. But I think a lot of the work that we're doing is behind the scenes, and I think that's where a lot of our time will be going.
Yeah. What about you, Stefan? How from a scale of 1 to 10, how much of the stuff you do is in SwiftUI right now?
So I'd say a solid 9 out of 10. Because like if you have the freedom, I think it's pretty nice. But I still I've started in the UI kit world, so there's still some stuff I'm still using there, but mainly I try to do everything with SwiftUI.
Nice. Yeah, and I think for Jess and Jevon, both of you are fully in on SwiftUI now, right? From what I heard about what you were saying.
I would say all my projects are 100% SwiftUI since I really got introduced to the world of Swift and iOS programming last summer. And by then, SwiftUI was already an existing framework. Of course, the first ever kind of bootcamp class I took was in UIKit. But once I discovered SwiftUI,
so much
I
easier.
just really liked the iterative framework. So I kept on using it and got better with it. And now I'm building a lot of different apps in SwiftUI.
Awesome. And Jess, what about you?
What I'm doing for my personal project is SwiftUI, but almost every time I go and shadow a mentor, there's lots of legacy code. There's even Objective-C thrown in there. So going over, yeah.
Let's try to make it a goal of 2021 to get rid of all of the Objective-C code. Well, maybe there's some good reasons for it, but
it's something else.
All right.
But yeah, ideally, I will sort into SwiftUI.
Yeah, I think now is as good a time as any to really start looking into that more thoroughly. I'm going to wrap it up because we have 2.5 minutes until the Design Award starts, and they're presented live, so I definitely want to be there for them. I want to thank all of you really a lot for taking the time to give some of your feedback about WWDC Day 4. We've got 2 more sessions coming up tomorrow, one in 12 hours and the other one in 24 hours or so. And after that, I'm going to turn off this computer for a few days. So have a good night, everyone. I have 2 more labs later tonight, so I'm going to get a little bit of rest. And I hope to see you all online over the next few days.
Oh, it has been a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.
Love to see you.
Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun.